VHS Christmas Carol is a perfect musical. What makes a perfect musical? As a self-proclaimed theater expert, I came up with 3 categories: the music, the book, and the ability to connect with an audience. Don't just take my word for it. Here's what some professionals had to say. Laura Mueller from Skillshare explains that the 3 main components of a musical are its book, its music, and its lyrics. You may have noticed I didn't include lyrics in my qualification. That's just because I believe that all lyrics should be treated as a part of the book. So, my book and lyrics are kind of merged. And when asked what makes a musical good, Trevor List, a theater critic from the Delaware Gazette, said, "A good musical is one that does one thing: entertains. A musical has done its job. You didn't walk out during intermission or fall asleep." I say that if there's evidence that a musical can entertain and connect with an audience, then it's good enough to pass. If a musical passes in all 3 categories, I deem it a perfect musical. So based on those 3 categories, it's a fact that VHS Christmas Carol is a perfect musical. What is VHS Christmas Carol? VHS Christmas Carol is a Star Kid show based on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, with music and lyrics by Clark Baxter. The twist with this show is it's an homage to the American 1980s with the costuming and style of music. It's completely sung through in only about 45 minutes, but this musical has gone through 4 different iterations. According to TeamStarKid.com, since 2020, there has been a Zoom performance, a concert, and 2 live shows over the course of 3 years. For the simplicity of my argument, the live version in 2021, which is the one on YouTube, is going to be the main focus of the discussion today, on why this is a perfect musical. As a reminder, my first criteria for a perfect musical is the music. Bah humbug! Bah humbug! I'm going to start by saying the music in this show is amazing. I'm obsessed with the soundtrack and I listen to it way too much. Michael Cook from Thoroughly Modern Reviewer had a lot to say about the music in this show, including, "This is one of those albums that just doesn't have a bad song on it." I agree. But the real question is, why does the music work so well? The reason is, the music doesn't try to be too complicated. It knows what it is, it sticks to a theme. As someone who knows very little about 80s music, it's definitely reminiscent of the era, with songs in different quintessential 80s genres. All of the songs have a cohesive feel without sounding exactly the same. Lastly, in my opinion, the biggest reason this musical draws people in is because the music is so catchy. At first, when I watched it, I was okay with the musical and I thought the songs were just a little annoying, but then they got stuck in my head and I kept thinking about it and I watched it over and over again, and yeah, look where I ended up. But with all that said, I'd say the music category is a pass. Michael Cook said, "Every song is bursting with energy, killer harmonies, and emotion." But even with the energy, harmonies, and emotion, the lyrics are just as, if not more, important. As this musical is significantly shorter than the original, they don't hit every plot point in the original text. This isn't necessarily a negative, as the plot itself is very simple. In the song Christmas Day, they describe the entire plot in one line. The way they get around the shorter runtime is by focusing on the most important parts of the story. Michael Cook described it as Clark ushers the narrative along with quick glimpses at the novel's biggest plot points, connected by narration that ties it all together. For me, this is a great change from the original. By focusing on the parts that are really the most important, everything they choose has to be, good enough to warrant its inclusion in the final product. One thing I want to point out is that this musical is hilarious. There are so many moments that have me giggling every time I hear them. Along with the funny bits, you can also tell that there's a lot of heart that went into writing this. So, with that, book category passes. Which brings me to the last and most important part of any musical: its connection with the audience. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm obsessed with this musical. this past summer was the worst I got. I probably watched it around 70 times just during the break. Before you judge me too much, it's like a playlist because it's completely sung through and it's only 45 minutes. So, although maybe not as extreme as me, I'm not alone in my love for this musical. I recently went to my first Star Kid performance live, and it was this musical, and because of that, I decided to ask my friend Jamie, who I actually met there, how this show has impacted her. She had this to say. VHS Christmas Carol really connected to me on multiple levels. To see the show progress through its multiple adaptations to what it is today means the world. The other way it connects is how heartbreaking but relevant the show truly is. We all know a Scrooge. No matter what, the show stays super relevant and super catchy. I also decided to ask my mother, who was dragged to Chicago to see this with me, to provide insight on what the live show was like. It was electric. The roars of the crowd were deafening for 200 people. The actors seemed just excited as the audience. My daughter never stopped smiling. I never stopped smiling. With all that said, I think the last category is a pass. I wanted you to learn that not only is VHS Christmas Carol a perfect musical, but why. Why the music is amazing, why the book works so well, and why it can get an audience of 200 people to sound louder than a sold-out Eras Tour concert. I hope you can determine whether or not the next musical you watch is perfect by using my 3 qualifications and comparing them with my reasonings on why VHS Christmas Carol met all the criteria. I also hope you watch VHS Christmas Carol this holiday season and fill it with
Christmas electricity, Christmas electricity. It's all around us, can't you see it's here?